Hey guys, and happy Monday. Today is our lesson for skills. I'm attaching another document in our announcements, which is just a PDF of the spelling words, but this is our actual lesson for today, which is going to be our read aloud, and you're going to need your skills book. So you can pause this and get out your skills book if you don't have it nearby. So we're going to read our whole group, Francis Scott Key and the National Anthem. The title of today's chapter is Francis Scott Key and the National Anthem. You have learned so far about the War of 1812. Please turn to the table of contents, find the chapter, and then turn to the page of the first chapter. Tricky words. So let's go over some tricky words that are going to appear in the story. Early, whose, broad, bomb. And then let's preview the vocabulary, and you can look at the pictures to help you better understand the word. National, anthem, open fire, rocket, inspired, hail, gallantly, proof. Let's preview more vocabulary. We have the word national, fiction, national again, animal, perilous, ceremony. Now, go ahead and get out your reader. I'm going to change my screen and open up to chapter 8. And we're going to get started. You can pause it if you haven't got it out yet. Francis Scott Key and the National Anthem. On September 13, 1814, British ships opened fire on Fort McHenry. They fired rockets and mortars. The soldiers in the fort would have fired back, but there was not much point. The guns in the fort were old. They could not hit the British ships. The British ships kept fighting for a long time. They fired all day. They fired on into the night. And here's a picture. Look at that. It says this image shows the British firing on Fort McHenry from far away. An American named Francis Scott Key watched the British attack. He was on a boat in the harbor. Key was not a soldier. He did not fight in the battle, but he was able to see it. He could see the British ships blasting away. He could see Fort McHenry. He could also see the huge flag Miss Pixquirrell had made. Key kept his eye on the American flag as long as the flag was still flying at the fort. America was still in the battle. It meant that the troops in Fort McHenry had not given up. If the flag went down, that would mean America was no longer fighting. That would mean that the troops in the fort had given up. Key watched all day. He was still watching when the sun set. He was proud that the flag was still flying. What do you think about? Why do you think he was proud that the flag was still flying? Think about it and tell me. Right, because it means that they hadn't given up. And here's a picture of Francis Scott Key. So when I'm talking about him and when you're reading about him, you can picture this picture and image in your brain. At night, it was harder for Key to see, but there were flashes of light. Sometimes a rocket would go streaking through the darkness. Sometimes a bomb would explode and light up the sky. The flashes of light allowed Key to see the flag. The firing went on until just before dawn. Then it stopped. The sun had not come up yet. It was still dark. There were no rockets blasting. There were no bombs bursting in the air. Key could not see much. The silence was puzzling. What did it mean? Was the battle over? Had the soldiers in the fort given up? Key could not tell. Key waited nervously. At last the sun rose. Key looked at the fort, and what did he see? The soldiers had raised the huge flag that Miss Pixquirrell had made. It was not the U.S. soldiers who had given up. It was the British sailors. They had stopped firing on the fort. Key felt a surge of joy. He felt pride, too. The brave men in the fort had not given up. And it says, when the sun rose on Fort McHenry, Francis Scott Key saw that the American flag was still flying. Do you think he was surprised? Yeah, he was very surprised. He thought for sure the British wouldn't be the ones to give up first. Key felt inspired. He hoped to share with others what he had seen. He needed to tell what it was like to wait and then see the flag still flying in the morning. Key reached into his pocket. He found an old letter. On the back, he wrote a poem. Here is the first part of the poem. as I'm reading this, I want you to think about what it reminds you of. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, in the rocket's red glare the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Now, know that I'm not a singer, but it's kind of hard to read that without singing. Key did not know that one day his poem would become our national anthem. And here's the flag. And that's our chapter. So you can go back and listen to that again if you need to, or read it again to yourself before you get out your fish book and complete today's artifact or assignment, which is 21.1 in your fish book. And all you're going to do is you're going to say, if a statement is true, write true on the line. If a statement is false, write false on the line. And then write the page number where you found the answer. So, let's do number 1 together. It says, British ships opened fire on Fort McHenry on June 13, 1913. So let's go back and find where it talks about the British opening fire. On September 13, 1814. Is that the same as what they're saying? No, so that's false. So we would write false in this blank and say we found the answer on page 70. So then you would write page 70. So finish those. It goes all the way down to the front and back. So do that, and then you're going to upload a picture of it into the assignments tab, Fishbook 21.1 or something like that. Thank you guys. Bye.